about it.
Okay.
Because this is something that I also, I don't know. Tell me if this is how it is for you, and if it's not, then I want to hear your version. But I wake up in the morning, and I'm at a point where like nothing, like I don't really remember the thread from the previous day. So I wake up in the morning and like everything is slow and kind of calm, and then if I don't touch anything, like if I don't have any external stimuli, then I can stay in that like calm state and I can like slowly introduce pieces of information. But then I open like WhatsApp and all of the messages and all of the things come in, or I open my email and it's like all the browser tabs open. Um, yeah, and I find that that's a very different experience to like if I immediately open my phone, I get that. And if I don't immediately open my phone, then I get to like mediate what comes in. Um,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Every day I'm reminded to not check my phone for the first 2 hours of the day. Yet every day I still do it somehow, even though we've learned this lesson. We've coached people on this lesson endlessly. Yet somehow still it's like, oh, well, today is an exception, so I need to check my phone. And then I'm overwhelmed. And that's like how the day kicks off. But then I feel like I can't afford to not check my phone because I feel like I've committed to so many different things, or I feel like I'm still at the whim of other people's like schedules or ideas or whatever. So like, oh, I should, attend to this now. But then it's just not smart to do that. I know this already. So yes, I can relate to that for sure. But I can't say that I've been waking up feeling calm. Unfortunately, I'm waking up feeling anxious, which is why I'm checking my phone to hopefully ease some of this anxiety. It's like, oh, well, hopefully I have clarity on this, whatever thing that's been, in my consciousness. And now it's like, nope. Now I'm anxious that I haven't heard from it. And now I'm anxious because I heard from this other thing. It's like, shit.
That
Yeah,
thing
fun
that I was
times.
anxious about, and also that thing that I didn't know existed until just now, or I forgot that existed until just now.
Yes. Yeah. And because I've been traveling for the last 6 months, it's like my routine just keeps changing. Um, so it's difficult to like, I'm still kind of waking up and like, should I go for a walk first? Should I get a matcha first? Should I do yoga first? Should I do face yoga first? And then because the order of my routine is like always random, that it's just kind of like there isn't anything anchoring me to these like grounding rituals so much. So it's like constantly starting over. Yeah.
Ooh, do you want to tell me about your crazy day? Or
Mm,
no is also an appropriate answer. We can wind our
it's just
way.
not that interesting. Not
Mm,
that interesting. I'm happy
okay.
to share, but I don't feel like there's anything that's so I don't know, revolutionary.
But it's classic overwhelm. Like this thing and this thing
Classic
and this thing and this thing.
overwhelm. Classic overwhelm and time blindness, I would say, would be the things that are, yeah, main themes of today.
Yeah, I experienced that too, especially time blindness. Like before before getting on this call, I like um I have this project that I'm working on, Nature Club, and it's like a platform for finding activities, retreats, classes, anything that is based in nature. So I'm like, cool, okay. I know a few things and I'm staying in the shower and I'm thinking, oh, I want that to do this and I want this to link to that. And then I look at the clock and I go, I've got 20 minutes before I talk to Carly. I bet I could smash a bunch of this
That's a
stuff
great
out. So
time to do this.
and now all these browser tabs are open and I just like, I look at the clock and I've got like 3 minutes before we're jumping on and I'm like, okay, no, I'm gonna I'm gonna put that aside. I'm gonna put it out of my vision. I'm gonna like try and not um touch it. But it's so much fun like going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And we could also reframe it and be like, wow, like there are so many things that I want to do and good for me for doing so many things. And okay, maybe I was a little bit ambitious with the amount of things that I could do in a given hour, day, month, whatever. But cool that you're, doing things for this project that you are excited about.
Yeah. And for me, the difference is like being so overwhelmed that it's debilitating and I can't do anything, and
Yeah.
letting all of this stuff flow in. Because sometimes, like, this is just how my brain works, and I know it will change over time, and I know that I can do things, but it slowly changes.
My favorite one is when I'm procrastinating something I really need to do with something that I also really need to do. You know? So it's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, here's this," like, organizing my inbox or something, which is something I would always procrastinate on because that's a horrible, like, anti-dopamine task, right? But then it's
yeah,
like, when I have a bigger project to do, that's the time where I start cleaning out my inbox. I'm like, "Oh, whatever, it's just this is also productive, and I'm avoiding doing the other thing that requires more headspace," you know? So that's a classic one for me. Like,
yeah,
now is
and it's
not the moment to be doing this. I'm on a time crunch. But
but
hey,
it's also exactly the moment to be doing it. It's like it's a method.
apparently, yes, there seems to be no other way for our kind, apparently.
um, okay, you say our kind. I want to give anybody who listens to this a little bit of context. Um, I know you as an incredible lateral thinker, going from one domain to another and connecting dots. Um, as an expert in dopamine and how your brain works, and also you've done a lot of research into how other people's brains work, and an amazing DJ. But I know that there are other things here that I am not up to speed with. How do you, if I always find these introduction things hard, but maybe you don't. So
That
if
was
you're,
great. I like that, description of me. I'll take it. Thank you.
is there is there anything else you'd like to add here?
Mm, I mean, something that sums up a lot of my work is that I am an integrative health coach. So it's tying together, nutrition and neuroscience and behavior change to help not necessarily just neurodivergent people, though I do specialize more in that because I identify as neurodivergent ADHD. So I tend to connect with a lot of other neurodivergent ADHD brains. And these are the brains I've studied most, studying my own brain and then studying ADHD brains, and then, of course, dopamine, um, and seeing how a lot of neurodivergent people, including myself, what keeps us motivated and what kind of stops us from doing the thing. And, procrastination, overwhelm, um, dysregulation. These are things that I think a lot of neurodivergent people tend to resonate with. And of course, everyone can resonate with these things to a certain degree. But this is what I really nerd out on. And how can we make things more accessible? How can we make things more pleasureful so you can have the motivation to do the things that feel hard? Because sometimes things just feel harder when you
Yeah.
are on the neurodivergent spectrum. And I know for myself, it's like simple things just feel really, really hard sometimes. So it's like, how can we scale things back and make it easier and find more joy in these things that have, I don't know, plagued us for so long?
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because it's like such simple things, at least in my case. And I don't always find it, but I've found throughout my life, like I want to make games out of things. So, and like the question that comes up is like, oh, what would this look like if it was fun? Like, I don't want to sit here and do a really repetitive task, especially like if nothing is changing about it, if there are no like new stimuli. But if I'm doing it with someone and it's
Horrible.
like, oh, yeah,
It's
it's
impossible.
almost, yeah, and it
Sometimes.
feels
It's
that
like
way
feels
as
like a
well.
prison. Yeah, it's like, ah, rather do anything else.
But then you give me something that somebody else might think is really hard. Like, oh, go and figure out this problem. Oh, go climb that mountain. Oh, go and you know, learn how to build a website. It's like, ooh, I could do that. Even though it's like objectively much harder.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
But that's what makes us
And the other
special, you
thing,
know?
it does. And we end up going on these conversational adventures, I realize as well. Like, specifically with talking on a podcast like this, I realize that some other people will plan things out, will like want a conversation to go in a certain direction, and that's absolutely fine. Um, but I found what is really interesting is just to follow the thread, like follow the interesting thread. Like we can open a door and go down a rabbit hole about something that like sparks all of these things, and we get to a place that like a lot of people wouldn't get to because it's not the conventional. Like I love that in a conversation. How do we get here? Oh,
Yes. Somehow I do feel like we circled back though. It might take a few hours, but then the connection I find, like it usually comes back. And first of all, even if it doesn't matter because whatever. But I do find, okay, yeah, we're back. And we went through all these different rabbit holes and we went to all these other dimensions. But cool, beautiful. Love that it could just go in all these different directions. And now we learned all these other things that we weren't expecting.
yeah. The number of
Yeah.
random interesting facts that I learn every day just from people like having conversational adventures. They're like, oh, I shouldn't talk about this, but blah, 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 blah. But did you
Yeah.
know that, rabbits, did you know that dragonfly, did you know that dragonflies are the best hunters in nature? They have like an
Is that
insane
true?
hit rate. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like
I
you
did
think
not
about
know that.
how, I'm just reminded because there's a dragonfly right here. But
Nice.
like you look at lions going on a hunt, and I'm gonna make this number up because I actually don't know it. But lions maybe like they catch, I don't know, 30% of the prey that they try to. Dragonflies is in the 90 something, 95% of the things that they go after. Yeah. Um, I mean,
Is quite the fun fact. Which
definitely.
task were you procrastinating on for you to have learned that fun fact?
Probably preparing for a meeting.
Perfect.
Maybe, sitting at a restaurant, going to order food, and the conversation somehow gets onto dragonflies, and then the waiter comes back, and you're like, oh, we haven't, sorry, no, we've been talking about dragonflies.
Yep. I'm curious for you with, ChatGPT and Claude and AI, how that impacts your rabbit holes.
Mm, it really does. Um, yeah. But I notice it as I can have an answer or a conversation about anything with an AI. Like I use Claude a lot, and I'm quite interested in the output, but I also don't like being bullshitted. So if I ask a question and it gives me an answer, usually my follow up question, at least these days. So just to date this, it's March 31st, 2026. Um, I'll ask a question and it'll give me an answer, and I'll say, all right, are you just guessing at that, or is this a verified answer? And 90% of the time it goes, oh, this is guess. Let me go and find an answer. Yeah.
Good that you're checking it.
Yeah. You need to fact check it
Yes.
because otherwise I'm like, we go down this rabbit hole. And like you can spin that wheel if you want to. How do you find it? Do you go and rabbit hole?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. I found so my brain tends to be on the overthinking side of things. And, in the past, I have health anxiety, right? So if I feel like, I have had a headache for 3 days in a row, I'm like, oh my God. Like in the past, I would go on to WebMD, which is like, do not do that. And that would just trigger more anxiety because it's like
Yeah.
every WebMD is going to tell you that you have like a tumor, cancer, some rare disease, and I would, get more anxiety and more headaches because I was anxious. I find that with ChatGPT, it's even worse because you can keep asking questions to keep getting confirmation bias that you have whatever thing that you're scared of. And sometimes it's helpful, but I do find that it can be really detrimental because it feels like you're being productive, but then it's actually just feeding anxiety and feeding overthinking and overwhelm. And I also find that this happens with clients too. I'm working with a client now who's been having some IBS gut issues. And, there's a lot of different components that are happening in her life right now, a lot of different changes, a lot of transitions. And IBS is very tied to like mind, body, like mind gut connection.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to guide her into thinking about what's happening in her life, what's happening with her stress levels, etc. But she was convinced that she had a parasite. She's like, "Oh, well, I'm having more diarrhea than ever before, and my mom thinks I have a parasite, and this is what ChatGPT told me because my stool looks like this." And then she spent, you know, all day spiraling because of what ChatGPT said, because of the prompt that she fed, which was, "I have a parasite. Tell me what to do about it, and here's what to look for." When she actually went and then did a parasite stool test, which showed up negative. And then
Mm.
she went into a rabbit hole of like, okay, but how accurate are these parasite tests? And what's the percentage that they are, accurate? And blah, 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 blah. And it was a whole 3 days that she spent rabbit holing on this topic, which then I did prompt her into, well, how stressed have you been the last 3 days with this rabbit hole? How stressed have you been with this idea that you have a parasite? And do you think that that's had an impact on your gut health? And she was like, oh shit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So I'm
yeah,
seeing the way that it's impacting myself, clients, other people. And I don't want to shit on ChatGPT or any of these AIs. I think obviously they
no
come with
pun.
a lot of advantages, but definitely something to think about for all the other overthinkers out there and anxiety
Yeah,
ridden people. And I'm sure, this isn't news to anyone, but I'm just finding it a very interesting aspect to this new age of AI that we're in.
yeah. Well, they have biases, and they even have like soul kind of scripts that says this is the kind of um, assistant or thing that you are. Your goal is to maximize, and I'm making this up, this isn't exactly how they're written, but you can go and find blog posts where people have reverse engineered it to find the sole document that is, say, behind Claude. And a lot of it is around confirmation bias and like to make people feel good and to always end with a question. I find like these are consumption
Hmm.
based revenue models. So the more you use it, the better it is for the company. And like for a rabbit hole brain where it's like, this is the answer. Oh, why did you think of that? Or what was the thought behind that? Or like asking another question just to prompt you to like go further and further into this thing. Um,
Yeah.
and just like you learn to use a hammer, say, to hit a nail into a piece of wood, knowing how to use these tools, I think, is really important. Like you wouldn't go, oh, I'm gonna, go and install this fragile piece of glass with this hammer. Like you go, no, I'm gonna like carefully figure out how this piece of glass sits here and use these other tools that I have at my disposal. But it is super easy to just like use these generative AI tools in this way. Um, do you have ways that you like? Because the tools that you're talking about is like you and your ability to step back and for this client say, hey, what are some other things that could be triggering this gut stuff? Do you have ways to like snap yourself out of using AI to go into this confirmation bias?
Yeah. I mean, I think something that I've been, working on this relationship with AI for is writing. So whenever I'm working on
Cool.
like a newsletter or an Instagram post, sometimes I'll like brain dump everything into ChatGPT and I'm like, okay, help me write a newsletter based on this other newsletter, based on all these things that I'm thinking about. And then it'll spit out this fucking horrible script or this horrible newsletter, or this horrible Instagram caption. And I'm just like yelling at it, like, this is fucking horrible. This is not my tone. This is not my voice. And then I'm getting so frustrated because it's not giving me what I want. And then I do that for maybe an hour or two, or who knows how long. And then I'm so exhausted, I have to step away and I realize this is actually not helping me. This is not productive at all.
Yeah.
And it's not until and I've done that enough times now that I realize that actually this is wasting my time and this is not productive, that I'm just going to do this on my own. And so I'm really grateful that it's still kind of shit in some ways. And we can always
Yeah.
tell when something is AI, right? Like we know, and we don't want that because people can tell, we can tell. And at the end of the day, I'm actually really grateful that we have that ability still, and that these tools, at least right now, are not as, I don't know,
Mm.
human as we want them to be. Because when you resonate with a piece of text, or you resonate with like a story, or you resonate with, art, I think the real fear, I think, has been for a lot of artists is that AI is going to take over, all these creative industries, and it already has, and there is a risk, and, you know, things are changing very quickly. But it does feel like right now we can all still tell when something's made by like a real human and when something's made by AI. And as soon as something feels too like chat GPT or too AI, it's like, no, no, no. Let's bring back our human brains again and bring back our own critical thinking skills, because you can quickly see that this is actually not maybe serving the interest that we had for it.
Yeah. And I think we've had this in a lot of different, I think we've had this, but not to this extreme state. Like, I think a lot of the work that gets done, a lot of the time people are just following scripts. They're not using critical thinking. They're just going through the motions of doing something. And right now is the perfect example of like, the scarce thing is valuable. And if more and more people are outsourcing their decision making or outsourcing these things to an AI, you're going to get a bunch of that thing and it will become commoditized in that way. And then, like, the really original human thought that only comes from maybe this, like, what feels like a scattered approach to, say, having a conversation or coming up with an idea or like writing a bunch of things that seemingly don't really make sense until you like put them together in only the way that you could. Um, Yeah, I have been running a test. So I did one about a week ago where I had a conversation like this with an AI, and I'm gonna do it
I'm so
again next
curious.
month. Yeah, just to see how it
What do you
goes.
what do you even mean conversation like this with
Well,
AI? How does that
I
work?
wanted to, I wanted to interview an AI and have a podcast and record it and like send it to my friends and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, see if anyone can tell if it's me having a conversation with a podcast, with an AI, or if it's just me having a conversation with somebody. Um,
Interesting.
and it's so obvious. Like, I stopped it
That's
after 10
good
minutes.
news. That's super good news.
But the
I'd love to
nuance in
see
it is
it.
really interesting. The nuances I find, my behavior changes for two reasons. One of them is that I know I'm not having a conversation with a person. So there's a certain level of like presence and respect and I think presence is probably the right word to sum it up, that I would give to you, to us, when we're like having this conversation, that if I'm doing it with an I know that I can just like start cussing you out, for example, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna like hurt. its feelings, whereas I wouldn't do that in this context. I mean, I might.
See,
um,
watch
and the other
out.
thing, the other thing that's hilarious is I know that it will start talking when I stop. So if I won't have any pauses. I, I'll kind of try to keep my voice consistent until I'm done speaking so that it can't interrupt me. Um, and then I know that it's not going to take us on a journey. Like I'm definitely driving the conversation. It's literally just echoing back something that I've given
Yeah,
it, or like I know that you might hear something that I say, have a thought, and take us in a direction. And that's like part of the fun of,
being
having
a
a
human
conversation with another human. Yeah, and you specifically.
could go in any which direction. Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that's the thing that we like about like meeting interesting people or having interesting conversations is like we don't know where they're going to go. Like we're not the driving force behind them. We co-create them.
totally. Yes. It keeps things interesting. And I know I like to collect interesting people in my world, and I'm noticing that the older that I get and the more unapologetic I get in my weirdness, the more I'm collecting other weird people, you included, in my rotation because it's just like, okay, give me some unexpected, unpredictable shit. Life is too short to be scripted. Life is too short
Yeah.
to, I don't know, follow the norms. And of course, there's space for that as well. But I am finding that I'm drawn to people who are just living unconventional lives. And it always just keeps things very interesting. And I'm like, okay, but is that feeding my overwhelm more? Because then there's like all this new stimulation that I wasn't aware of that is now like, it's so exciting that now that I'm just like constantly like neurons are, what's the word I'm looking for? Like neurons are firing at all, in all ways, at all times. And I'm addicted to that, newness, that novelty. And I think a lot of people with ADHD can resonate with this. Like I like to call myself a novelty slut, you know? Um, and it's just like I'm overwhelmed by how overstimulated I am, but then I'm also addicted to it. And,
Mm.
you introduced me to this book, Existential Kink, which is just such a good way of thinking about things. And I think about it all the time. Like anytime I'm like suffering from something that I've induced myself, I'm like, okay, but there's
Mm.
this sick, sadistic part of myself that's addicted to this chaos. Like today is a perfect example. Like I am the person who is responsible for taking on so many different things that I'm so overwhelmed by it. But like I created that for myself. No one else put me in that situation. And well, why am I doing that? It's like, well, I'm addicted to that. I'm addicted to all the things that are going on because it's interesting. I'd rather have that than to not have anything at all.
Mm. Yeah, you choose your hard. Um, do you think that it's would it be enough to just start the things and then be okay with like letting them go when they're not interesting anymore?
Well, I do that
Yeah.
all the time.
At what point do you, at what point, like, it's probably, there's probably a bias here. Like, well, I'll speak for myself. I know that I will start things and some of them I will finish and some of them I won't. But if somebody asks me to describe something that I'm really consistent at, until maybe a year ago, I would have said, oh, I don't really do anything consistently. But I know that there are
Mm,
consistent practices. And now I have like certain things that are very anchoring. Um, and I really do them consistently and they help a lot. But I find it hard to like actually bring them to the surface and go, oh yeah, that's right. This is something that I do consistently. And so maybe this is a hard question to answer, but are there things that, like, obviously, are you able to distinguish between like something that is like, oh, I like this because of the newness, and something that's like, oh no, like this is something that is consistently a theme coming up in my life that like I really care about these types of projects. So when I start them, they
Mm,
tend to continue.
yeah, good question. I think that, not everything is consistently consistent in the sense that, I have certain passions and hobbies and interests that are not like always like every single day I'm doing them, like reading, for example, or cooking or mm, doing yoga, Pilates, whatever. These are things that have been overall consistent in my life for many years, traveling. But then there are phases that I go in where, like, I don't maybe read a book for a year because I'm just, like, not in that mood, I'm not in that phase. And in the past, I used to feel maybe a bit ashamed that I was like, "Okay, but I love reading and I'm not reading anymore, so therefore, do I not like reading anymore?" And then I, like, force myself to read because I wanna prove to myself that I'm a reader. But now I'm, like, trusting that it will come back in due time. Like, I've been a reader for so many years now that I know that these things are not consistent, but they are consistent, even though that they're not like showing up in very clear patterns. It's like these challenges of like, I'm going to read 20 books a year. I'm going to read, and I've tried to do these things to prove to myself that I'm a consistent person, but then I've learned to let that go because I know that, you know what? Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to read. It's not that phase in life. And same with traveling. Like, I have traveled a lot in my lifetime, and I used to identify as like, I'm a traveler. And then I got so burned out from traveling all the time and from seeing new places all the time that I didn't want to leave my flat. I wanted to just like stay in and read. You know what I mean? And and it was like, okay, I wasn't so much of a traveler. I like wanted to be home consistently. And same thing with cooking, like I would spend like months and months and months just like cooking every single day. And then I kind of got sick of it and I need to take a break. So I think that there are so many things that are, you know, consistently inconsistent, but still there. And then there
Yeah.
are other things that maybe like morning walks. So this is one of my routines that has been so, so helpful for all the reasons. And I have to force myself still every morning to get out and walk. And it's like, I know that I like this. I know that it's good for me, but it doesn't mean that it's like always easy for me to do that. I still have to give myself that push. And depending on where I am or what I'm doing, like I was living at the beach for 4 months. And if I woke up too late and the sun was too bright and it was too hot, maybe I wouldn't go on a walk that morning. So I was like, it's just not the right time. So it's like, okay, do I say that I don't do morning walks anymore because I don't do it every day? It's like, no, I still do. I trust that I'm going to get back to that. But sometimes I have to let it go for a bit and assume that's going to come back in. And if it doesn't, well, I trust that I will find something else that will take its place that will benefit me the same way that that hobby or habit did. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do exactly the same thing. Um, I have implemented this morning walk routine, and I went for one this morning, and I woke up at like 6. When I looked at the time, it was like 6:06. Um, and I was like really bleary eyed, and I was tired, and I was like, I should go back to sleep. And then I went, no, you know what? If I go for a walk, I know that I will feel different. So, like, for the first 50, 100 meters, I like can't see properly. I'm like kind of still, you know, stumbling out the door. I get my shoes. And by the time I'm like 3, 4 minutes into the walk, I'm so happy I'm out. And like just the light hitting your eyes, the moving your body, the like consistency of getting into the place. But I don't know if you have this. Like I find that I can feel very different in one room to another or in one situation to another, and to like feel guilty about changing what I want to do based on like the path that I'm on. The more I let that go, the more it feels like I can just go and do the things, because I don't feel like like if I go downstairs and I'm like, I'm not gonna go on my walk. If I feel bad about that thing, then the next morning when I get up, it's like, I don't want to go on the walk because I might get downstairs and decide I don't want to go on the walk, and then I'm gonna feel bad about like changing my mind. It's like, no, let's let go of all of that stuff. Um,
Totally.
but also there's real power in not negotiating some things. And like the earlier you were talking about, and I really connected with this because it was like, do I want to do this? Do I want to make coffee? Do I want to write something? Do I want to, like having all of these options? And sometimes it's like, no, actually, there's no room in this particular thing for negotiation. It's like, all right, I just know that I'm going to do this, and it I've decided, and it actually doesn't matter if it makes sense here or not. Like, just the consistency of this thing. It's not the thing itself, it's the consistency that is the important part of it.
Totally, totally. I think that that's a really good point, and something I thought about a lot. I think specifically when I was vegan a few years ago, it didn't bother me for all the years that I was vegan that I could only order 1 or 2 things off the menu, and I was so obsessed with the fact that I only had 1 or 2 choices, and, like, I don't have to think about anything, it's so easy, you know? And I think that we, especially in this society, underestimate the, like, paralysis of decisions or decision fatigue, you know? And we can do everything and have everything at, in the blink of an eye. And in some ways, it's like we have the freedom to have whatever we want. And this is something I struggle with endlessly because I want that freedom. I want to feel like I can decide. I want to feel like I can go for a walk or like go to a cafe or journal or whatever. I don't want anyone, even sometimes myself, to tell me what I have to do. I don't like rules, but then I also sometimes need them to not spiral in this like decision fatigue because it's sometimes not serving us to always be like weighing all these different options, and I'm always trying to optimize for the best thing at all times. I want to find the best track and I want to eat the best food and I want to go to the best place, and then I'm like, I mean, even like looking at flights or like figuring out travel plans or you know figuring out what kind of book I want to read on psychedelics or whatever it is, and I'm just like spending forever trying to figure out the best thing, and I'm like, this is so fucking exhausting. Why am I doing this to myself? But then I'm gonna be so
Yeah.
upset if it's not the right thing. So it's like once you find the routines and you find the things that work, and at this point I like having just friends who give me suggestions or like I'm learning different ways to just kind of make decisions because I know if I don't, then I'll just like end up in a fucking rabbit hole trying to decide the thing, and then I spend the whole day trying to decide, and then I end up with nothing. It's like fuck this, we're done.
But yeah, I do that with movie trailers. But like, it's like, should we watch this movie? Should we watch this movie? And what I realized is sometimes I just like watching movie trailers. So I'll watch like half an hour of
Same,
movie trailers.
especially in the plane. I do this. My favorite. So I
Yeah.
have this like long ass list of movies to watch, and I don't really watch any of them. You know,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
fun. What movie night with me is a good time.
Because it's such a big commitment. It's
It
like we were all
is.
we were hanging out in Lisbon, and with all of these friends, and then we were deciding what movie to watch. And I'll keep it like sort of anonymous for no particular reason, but I, I prefer not to go into details sometimes.
Okay.
And this friend of ours was like, "Look, I don't care what we watch. I'm just polling everybody to see what like how how interested each person is, and then I'm gonna put something on." Um, and it was perfect. And then half the people that didn't want to watch the thing basically just fell asleep. And
What
like,
what did we end up watching again?
I remember I fell asleep.
Oh yeah. I also left. I was like, this is not doing it
Nah,
for me.
I think it was some kind of Disney film. Um, that had
So
a bunch of
bad.
singing in it.
It's
Yeah.
really bad.
Well, and then everybody that didn't want to watch that fell asleep, and then the movie ended up getting changed anyway. Like it was,
True. True, true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I also
Okay.
think this is the flow of life, and this is the flow of my life, and the flow of like if you just let it be that way, like there's this study that I uh like, and I can't quote exactly where it's from, which is something that I'm working on. Um, but basically that they were looking at maximizers versus satisfiers and who was
Mm.
happier. And that the maximizer would go, oh, I need the best thing, and they would like spend all of their time trying to find the best thing. And the satisfiers would say, all right, I need something that will do the job, and then I'm going to go with that. Um, and I definitely in my life have been a maximizer, and I'm trying to find a hybrid approach, which is like take recommendations from people that like really know the field or like kind of know where I'm having these like filtering mechanisms. Like going to a restaurant and asking the waiter what their favorite thing on the menu is. And if they're like willing to tell me without any reservations, like, oh, this is my favorite thing, then I'm like, cool, I'm going to try that. You work here. You probably have tried a lot of these things. I used to work at a restaurant. I know that this stuff is like, I know when something is really good on a menu and I know when it's not. But then I won't use that filtering mechanism if the waiter is like, oh, well, this is really good and this is really good and this is really good. I'm like, nah, you're not filtering it for me. Like, I might as well just randomly choose myself, you know?
See, my problem is I often ask, but then I don't like their recommendation, and then I choose my own thing. So I'm like, why am I even asking?
But
Because I
you can
think at the
ask
end
for
of the
their.
day, I have like a intuition of what I want, but then I'm still not sure. And I think that's also something I struggle with indecision as well with a lot of things. So it's like I want guidance, but then at the end of the day, it's like I kind of know, but I don't know. And then I'm just kind of like still in this like, yeah, it's fun.
Have you tried this where you. I don't know if I have a coin. Oh, yeah, I've got a coin. Yeah. Okay. So, um, so you're making a decision between two things, and it's like, all right, do you want to read um, the existential kink, or do you want to read uh, I don't know, Peter Pan, right? And you're struggling between these two things, and you, if you can't decide, you take a coin and you go, all right, heads is Peter Pan, tails is existential kink, and you flip it, and as soon as the coin is in the air, the idea is that you intuitively know what you want it to be. Huh?
Is that a question?
Yeah, 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 that's the question.
Is the question, do I intuitively
So,
know? Or,
yeah, if you, I'm like, I'm probing at decision making frameworks here.
okay.
Like, if you have to choose between two things and you flip a coin, do you think that this helps you go, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need? Not really.
No. I think it depends really on I think it really depends on like the the context. I think for some things maybe yes, and for other things no. Some things
Mm,
I actually give way more fucks about than other things. Sometimes I actually just don't care.
yeah, maybe it's a for me, I think it's a, is this a decision worth grinding over, or is it a decision that I could just like, yeah, it can be either.
I think that's something I'm also thinking about a lot is at the end of the day, most things actually don't matter that much. You know, like I have to catch myself often, especially because I'd say I'm very much in this perfectionist kind of camp. And especially with my own work or like when I'm writing this whatever Instagram caption or like when I'm cooking a meal or when I'm, choosing something off a menu. In my mind, I'm like, this matters so much. And then I think it's helpful when I'm like either coaching clients or talking to other people and I'm seeing how stressed they are. And it's such a good mirroring practice for me to see them and their struggle. Because then I see myself and I'm kind of like, wait, actually, this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Most of this shit doesn't fucking matter. We think it does, but at the end of the day, much is not going to change. Most people, first of all, don't know the difference, They're not thinking about it. Like if I think a lot of times with like entrepreneurs, we think that every design element on our Canva graphic matters so much. Like, oh, like people are going to
Yeah.
be looking. No one even notices. People probably aren't even going to see it, honestly, you know? And it's like I have spent so long moving like little images around in this stupid square. Like, oh, but this font looks better over here. And I don't want to undermine, graphic designers in this case to say, oh, these things don't matter. But I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in small details when at the end of the day, these things don't matter. And how can we take the pressure off of ourselves to be perfect when it is
Yeah.
stopping us from maybe actually doing the things that we want to do in life because we're agonizing over these small details. And if we let it go, as we were talking about, we'll have actually more space to honestly have more peace within. So we're not stressed by all the things that we're stressing ourselves out about that we don't actually need to be stressing ourselves out about.
Yeah. Or like to me it's the bigger thing that that matters, and then the smaller decisions often don't matter so much. But if they feel like they matter, then it's important to realize that like, oh, that matters, but it matters because I want to have this control, or I want to make these small decisions. Like for the person that I'm making this Canva thing for, it probably doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
Um, like to use the restaurant as an analogy. Um, I often don't read menus. I like ask the waiter or I'll like pick something. Um, just kind of at random. But I think the decision that does matter is like which restaurant did we go to? If we go to a really good
Mm.
restaurant, everything is going to be good. If I choose to spend time with people that I really like, it doesn't matter so much what we do. Um,
Because if we
like
go to a shit
you
restaurant, then we'll
choose
laugh about it
which.
anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it still won't matter what you get. The meal will still be like whatever, you know.
And even if it was great or even if it wasn't, it's like you're gonna forget that anyway. Like, of course, it'd be great if the meal was amazing, but like, if it's not, like, literally whatever, literally whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you can have a great time at a shit restaurant, and equally, if you're like not, I think it's important to work on these things though. Like sometimes I used to not like the self development whole thing, and I think you can get really wrapped up in self development stuff, and it's not. It doesn't need to be your whole life, but it's really important because there are circumstances as well that like, or I see people go and like be eating at really nice restaurants, say, and not having a good time. You're like, oh, well, why? What's going on here? Like, why can some people have the best time, the best day, um, doing whatever it is they're doing that's not seemingly that interesting or important? And then sometimes you see people that are really like living the dream, so to speak, um, and not, yeah, yeah. What's actually, this is perfect. I was gonna ask what in your life are the things that matter, um, but I have been asking my previous guest to give me a question for the next person I talk to. And this is almost exactly, well, this is very timely. So um, I won't give you context on the person. Just know that they're a wonderful person. um,
Right.
so the question is, what would be unreasonable for your ego or self identity to do? Like, what things do you either do or do you stop yourself from doing because you're like, that's not me? Like, no, that's not a thing that Carly does. Does anything spring to mind?
Mm, I think the first thing that I think about is, can you ask the question again?
So, is there anything in your life, and maybe I can make it more tangible, more textured? Is there anything that's come up in the last week, say, that you've wanted to do, but there's an element of it that you go, that's not something that I would do? Like, are there things that you've wanted
Yeah.
to do, but yeah?
Yeah, I think sometimes something that I struggle with is I feel things very intensely. And so, especially let's say with music, I know immediately if I
Yeah.
don't like a vibe or a track or a space, the sound quality, for example. And it's just like I feel it so intensely that I wanna just like shit on it. Well, actually sometimes I just do because I can't control it. But it's like if I'm if I'm like with someone I don't know, for example, and I'm trying to like be polite, I'm not gonna just like be so unfiltered to just be like, this is complete shit, you know? But I want to. I wanna just like I wanna just be like, oh, this is horrible, you know? And I have to kind of stop myself sometimes. Or in general, when something's bothering me about someone or about something, I can feel that there's like this impulsive side of myself that wants to say whatever the fuck's on my mind, but I do have to be like, okay, this is not me. I'm someone who's respectful. I'm someone who is, thoughtful and kind and compassionate and empathetic. This is not a way that I want to show up and behave. I think this is a thing that I specifically am like, okay, you know,
Mm. What are the, it seems like like what comes up for me is that it seems reasonable, especially in a field like music where you know a lot and you're very experienced, to be able to be like, this is shit. Like, to be completely unfiltered. Do you think music is that domain for you?
I think it's one thing that I definitely have a lot of opinions about, maybe more than other areas. Um,
Mm.
And I think depending on who I'm with, if I'm with really close people or like other DJs, for example, we'll just both be shitting on something immediately. And it feels so good to just be able to do that. It feels so like safe to just say whatever the fuck is on my mind, not feel like I have to filter myself. Um, I find that when I'm with certain personalities, it's like I can be fully unfiltered, and I love that because I want to like feel like I can say things without someone assuming that I'm being a judgmental bitch, and they can just take take it with a grain of salt. It's like, okay, well, that's just her opinion in this moment. It doesn't mean she's rude. It doesn't mean she's, whatever. It's just like, okay, like she doesn't like
Yeah.
this, but I think we've been conditioned to not be unfiltered because it's perceived as rude. It's perceived as impolite. It's perceived as like not the right thing to do. So I guess that just comes back to, like, why I like to surround myself with certain people where I feel like I can be my fully unfiltered self, because sometimes I wanna just, like, be able to, like, impulsively just say whatever the fuck is on my mind without feeling like I'm being judged for that.
Yeah. And the more, at least I find, the more I hang out with people that really know themselves, um, I can basically say whatever's on my mind. And even if it's not, there's two things. Partly it's that I know that I'm not going to offend people because they are their own selves and they know that my opinion is just my opinion. Um, and the other part of it is like the feeling safe enough to just say what
Yeah.
it is. Um, yeah, it's an interesting, it's so nuanced though. Like, I think unless
So
you
nuanced.
start experiencing it, yeah.
And it's like I also like
Do
being around
you,
people who I was gonna say like who also find, if I have such a strong opinion about something like, "Ugh, I hate this. This is horrible." I think some people would just be like, "That's so inappropriate." But then the people that I'm curious about are curious about why I dislike it so much. And they're like, "Oh, interesting. Why do you find the sound quality so bad? Like, what is it about it that's so, you know, horrible for you?" People who want to know like why you feel that way. I like I like that because that's also how I feel. Like when someone doesn't like something, or even like I have like a lot of friends even that are polarizing characters. And I don't
yeah,
care that a lot of people don't like these people. In fact, I'm very curious like why people don't like them. And I'm like, "Oh, interesting. That's, cool." I mean, not cool. Of course, I would love for all the people that I love to love each other. That's like my goal in life. But when people find someone that I like to be annoying or weird or whatever, I'm just like, "Oh, interesting." And it says a lot about that person. And also just says a lot about like me. It says a lot about like that other person. And I just find that human psychology interesting, because I'm always trying to understand humans. That is something I'm quite passionate about. So it's like, or I just like to understand a lot of things. So it's like nothing I say is like that serious also. Things can change constantly.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, something I come back to often is like your degree to like your sensitivity about something is uh often how do I phrase this? Like if you're really particular about something, oh, I hate that music, and then I go, oh, I love that music, or like I love that sound quality, the way that this thing, like if we start to butt heads about this, and I go, oh, Carly is like she's such a difficult person because she really thinks this thing. Like, I'm only going to find that difficult if I really care about the opposite of what your strong opinion is, and that I think
Yeah.
that my way needs to be right. Like, if I can see that you have a really strong opinion and I really don't have a strong opinion about something, it's probably not even going to disturb me at all. I'm like, ah, okay, cool. This person thinks this. Um,
Yeah.
it's so
Or like
fun
even when you have a
having,
strong opinion, it's like, but to be so grounded in it that you don't need the validation from someone else. It's like, I very much believe this, but like, I don't give a fuck that you don't. Like, who the fuck cares? Cool. It doesn't matter, Unless it's something
yeah,
based on like values, like if I see something that's, racist and then somebody's just like, well, whatever, they deserve it, or like, yeah, is that way? Then I would like be like, no, this is fucked up. Like, but if it's
yeah,
something
yeah,
not so important, who cares? You don't like that taco? I think you're wrong, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. And like, that's your loss.
absolutely. Yeah, you don't like the taco? Cool, more for me. I love that.
Exactly.
um, the values thing is interesting too, and uh, like when you start to do values work, um, like I can say that I have 100 values, right? Oh, I care about honesty, I care about fairness, I care about authenticity, I care about all of these things. I think that that stuff is not really what you say you care about is not really the thing. And I'm borrowing this idea. It's not my original idea. It's that it's what you get angry about. It's what you like. If somebody steps over a line in a certain way, like if one of my values is that I really care about fairness and like racism. And if I say that I'm anti-racist and then someone acts racistly and I don't, it doesn't bother me. I don't do anything about it. It's probably not actually a value of mine. But if somebody does
Mm,
something racist and I go, hey, what the fuck? Like that, and it elicits this response from me, then I can like confidently say, oh yeah, that's like a clear value of mine. Like that's something that I really care about. Um,
Yeah, I think
because
that's a good point for sure.
there's, yeah, there are just so
What are you
many
gonna say?
like things that there are so many things that people evangelize, or so many things that like qualities that people will say that they have. It's like, okay, well, if this thing happens, like, did you do anything about it, or does it actually matter to you? Or are you just saying that because that's the like right thing to say because that's the norm? Um, yeah. And in a world where like so many people are just going with the and not thinking for themselves, just like letting other people make decisions or doing things that seem right rather than going with what they feel. Going with what you feel, being fucking weird, being like, ah, yeah, this is what I care about and this is what I think, and I'm gonna like stand by it because it allows other people to kind of like bounce their views off you and have this like interesting interplay. I think that's so cool.
It is cool.
Um,
Do you feel like if you are angry about something, do you feel like you always act on it? Like, do you feel like if you see something that's misaligned with your values, do you always do something about it?
uh, good question. Yeah, but I think it's a spectrum. I don't think it's black and white. I think we make things black and white because it's easier to talk about and understand, and like it's it's less complex to make things binary. But for example, I don't like flakiness. I don't like it when like somebody says, "Oh yeah, let's go for dinner on this day," and maybe it's a group of friends we're meeting, and then you know that one person is going to continually flake and go like, "Oh, sorry guys, I missed whatever. I did something," and like there I'd like to caveat this by saying that they're a legitimate, like, oh, I fucked up. I can't make it. But if it's consistently a thing, I just won't be friends with those people. And so I think that that's a real value of mine because it's an action based thing. I'll like
Mhm.
realize that it's like it's not even inconsistency that I dislike. It's saying that you'll do something and then not following through with it. And the action that I've taken is like I can really like someone, but if they're just continually flaking on something, then I'll just choose to take a different action and not hang out with them or not make plans with them. Um, so yeah, does that answer the question?
I think so. I think it's interesting because this came up for me recently where I witnessed an extremely offensive action. I was sitting at a cafe in Sunte in Mexico, and
Yeah.
there was this really, really obnoxious guy who was just kind of screaming on the phone. It's like this super broy, douchey guy who's just speaking so loudly. And I was sitting with my friend, and we were both kind of like, "Oh my fucking god! Like this is so inappropriate. Like this is so annoying." And then there was a couple that was sitting at the table next to us, and I guess they were also bothered. So like 20 minutes after, I don't know, this had this guy continued to speak, one of the guys at the table next to us got up and said to the really loud man, like, "You're ruining this experience for all of us. Like, like, you're being so loud and obnoxious. Like, this is not cool." And
Mm.
that guy really did not like it, and he kind of, like, completely cussed him out and then said a really homophobic comment. Like, it was just so aggressive and it was so rude and it completely escalated and became just so aggressive, and then the couple eventually left, and I was just sitting with this discomfort
Wow.
for so long. I was just like, "Wow, I hate this man. Like, he cannot get away with this. This is so fucked up." And one of my friends was telling me maybe a month before that he told someone off that he worked with for, like, saying homophobic comments. And I remember when he told me that initially, I was kind of like, "Ooh, no, like don't be confrontational. Like just you know in your heart that that's not cool, but like you don't need to say anything. It's better to just like not start conflict." But he was like, "No, but that's really not cool for these people to just like get by without being held accountable." And the way that
Yeah.
he talked about that really inspired me to say something in this case. But I was like shitting my pants. I was so scared because it's so scary to like be confrontational in a situation like this. And then I was kind of like, oh my God, like I don't even know how to stand up for this, like this offensive act here. Cause it's like, I don't know what's gonna make an impact. So, but either way, I
Yeah.
decided to do something about it. And it felt really, really, really good to, yeah, be in integrity with my values. So I ended up writing a letter to him and
Nice.
I put like a
Interesting.
little heart on the outside of it. So it was just like a little folded paper with a heart. And when he was leaving, I gave it to him. But in the letter, it said something like, um, dear, dear sir, or whatever, like, I'm
Still loud,
sitting with
man.
yeah, no, I didn't say it. So I was like, "Fuck, I wanna, like, keep him, reading." So I tried so
Yeah.
hard to keep it engaging. It's like, "Hi there, like, I just wanna let you know that I've been sitting here with a lot of discomfort since your, homophobic comments, and, like, we have an opportunity to make the world a better place by the way that we show up and blah, 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 blah." And I tried my very best to keep it, like, as coming from a place of love as much as possible. And so as he was leaving, I was like, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "Yeah." Turns around, sees a letter with a heart on it, and he's like, "For me?" I was like, "Yeah." So he starts reading it, and he gets past, like, the second sentence, and then he just, like, throws it on the table, and he was like, "You bitch! Like, how dare you? You think that you" whatever, and was just, like, saying all these offensive things, and I was just like so I don't think that I don't know if it got through to him. But either way, long story short, it does feel really good to act in integrity with your values, but sometimes I think it's difficult to always do that, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can't get through to people, and sometimes are you putting yourself in harm's way? There's been other times where I've been on the bus and people who are, like, really unhinged and who, like, clearly are aggressive are, like, being complete assholes and saying homophobic comments
Yeah.
to somebody in the bus. And I can feel that like I want to say something, but I'm like, this guy could have a gun and just like fucking shoot me, or he could like go off on me. And like, at what point do you always like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And first of all, fucking cool approach to like write a letter and to do it from a loving place.
I
And
tried.
yeah, like to me it just shows that there's so much nuance in like there's so much in these situations, and the act of doing like the act of doing the thing is different to the outcome to me.
Yeah.
Like it probably it probably doesn't matter who told that guy like that he was being inappropriate. It's really cool that both of you did, and I think that everybody takes time to change their views. So like maybe now, a month down the track or whatever it is, he would respond differently to it and have a different kind of and maybe even those acts, even though in the moment he wasn't like um let's say enlightened enough or gracious enough
Mm,
to like take that and not touch all of these wounds, but it's obviously stuff within him that like riles him up because he knows at his core that it's not okay, and that's why he's getting angry about it. That's why like the little boy inside him is getting super defensive. He's like, no, this is not, you can't tell me
yeah.
what to do. I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever you know
Yeah.
there's yeah, I think it's so cool that you did it and did it in a way that is slightly different as well. Like everybody is gonna be defensive if you tell them they're being a bad person. Like, I think that that is the primary
Yeah.
response for most people is like, you're attacking me? All right, defense.
Yeah.
So you do have to do it from love. It also, as shit as it is, I think sometimes voices need to come from people that are like them. I did some research on this, and
Mm.
like if you were a big angry like man, and um I learned this in sales, actually, door-to-door sales. We used to go knock on people's doors, and like the easiest way to connect with someone and get them to understand, to get them to kind of be in sync with you, is just to sync up with them. So if I knocked on a door and someone answered the door like, "Hey, how's it going?" then I would adopt that energy as well. And go, "Oh, hi, I'm
Interesting.
Ty," you know. Um, and if it was like a timid old woman and she came to the door and went, "Oh, hello," I would like drop my voice to hers and go, "Oh, hi, I'm Ty. Nice to meet you." You know, so like it feels, I think we should always do things from love, and like the way that you did that is still so fucking cool. But
Thanks.
it
I hope that it
it's
made somewhat
like
of an
the
impression, like, even if, like, it'll take 20 more times for that to happen, but then that, triggered it one
yeah,
step closer to behavior change. But yeah, it's actually interesting. I'm thinking I ran into this guy the other night. I'm in New York now where I used to live, and I ran into this guy that I had, like, a very brief thing with, like, before I moved to Berlin about 4 years ago, and I
yeah,
totally forgot about him. I run into him at this club. He's like, "Hey, Carly, like, what's up? It's so good to see you." And I'm like, this guy's like, "Oh yeah, like, hey, hey, hey." And then he was like, "Thank you to you for like bringing me to that party. It completely changed the course of my life." And like, I was with my friend who's a tattoo artist, and he knew him, and he was like, "I met him because of him, because of you, and I have all these tattoos because of you, and like blah 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 blah." And I met all these people. I was like, "Cool, man. Okay, nice to hear it." And then later in the night, I saw him, and he reminded me of this instance that this experience that we had had that I think I like blocked out of my brain because I'm like, all right, this guy sucks. Where like he had invited me over to his place for like a back to back because he was like learning how to DJ, and I like
yeah,
go over and he was sort of like mansplaining to me how to DJ at that point, and I was
yeah,
so fucking annoyed, and I just kind of told him off at that point and was just like, bro, like this is not how this works. Also, like this is completely inappropriate. And yeah, like I said, I forgot that this had happened because it's just like so irrelevant to me at this point. But he had said something to me. He's like, by the way, like, thank you so much for like keeping me in check then. I really appreciate it. And also, like, I've learned to DJ now for real since then. And like, you really inspired me. So, like, thank you for that. And I was like, okay. So, as you said, sometimes we don't know how something can impact somebody, and what changes can happen based on like when we're acting in integrity, or like even though maybe I was like a little bit fired up and I could have been kinder in the way that I gave him this mansplaining feedback, it did leave an impact. So I think it's like if we can act in integrity and like radical honesty, and not give a fuck as much as possible, like what they're gonna think about us, as long as we're, living true to the values that we believe in, then I guess this is living proof as we're talking about this, as I'm thinking about this, that it does matter.
yeah. That the things that are comfortable are decoupled from the things that are right in a lot of cases. Um,
Yeah,
because yeah, it can be really uncomfortable to stand up to someone or to like speak your mind, or confrontation. I realize also doesn't need to go in the way that we often think that it does.
yeah,
Um, like, and yeah, and the thing that that might be really uncomfortable for you actually could be really not uncomfortable for someone else. Like,
Mhm.
um, I had just like a very minor instance of just like to circle back a little bit to this guy in the cafe and this thing of like when it's appropriate to say something. Like for the DJ back to back, like to stand up and say, hey, actually, this is how I feel about it. There was some part of you that felt safe enough that this guy wasn't going to blow up and like completely throw his toys out of the pram, right?
I guess so.
Maybe, maybe not. But like at the restaurant, the dude who was being like obviously angry, or on the bus, like the person that might have a gun that is like looking really unhinged. I've been in a lot of situations where I will not stand up and say, "Hey, this is inappropriate." Like I will just move away from the situation because it is not the right thing to do. But I think that sometimes it's totally appropriate, and the more that you like speak out about that, the better you get at understanding that nuance. I was at a sauna space the other day and it was a quiet space. But it was like a quiet night for the sauna space, completely silent. And we were sitting around a fire. This was last night. I was sitting around a fire and these two people were talking. And it wasn't really bothering me, but noticed that everybody else was being super quiet. And so I said to the couple, hey guys, do you mind being quiet? And they went, oh, yeah, sorry, of course. And then everybody was silent. And it was like, it felt uncomfortable to say it because I didn't want to be like I didn't want to be the silent police. But at the same time, I was like, okay, this is something that I can do that's not very uncomfortable. And by doing it, it will make the experience nicer, or make the experience what everybody else is trying to have. Um, and I think it's something that I value more and more. Is like finding different and interesting ways to address things that could be uncomfortable and moving all the way through them. Um, I think an important part of it is to like, it feels like it's going to be really dangerous and going to be really like difficult. And after you do the thing, checking back with yourself and going, okay, I'm glad I did that. And sometimes it happens naturally. Like you see the guy at the club 4 years later, and he's like, thank you so much. But that's like a really long loop, right?
It was really such a full circle moment. I was like, "Holy shit," like, it's so crazy. Or sometimes, like, because I moved away, I kind of forget about, like, some things that happened in my life before, and then I will get these reminders where people are like, "Wow, I've really been watching your journey," and, like, "I remember when you just started DJing, and now, like, you're playing at these clubs in Berlin," and, like, "Wow," or, like, "I remember this dinner that you hosted in New York 4 years ago, and, like, I was introduced to this person, and then that," I'm like, "Okay, like, wow, cool." Like, our actions also at the same time do leave an impact, so I know before I said that nothing matters, but of course, like, it does, these bigger things do matter when it comes down to, like, our values.
Yeah. And knowing what matters is the important thing, like being able to distinguish that. But life's in flux, everything changes. Like, yeah, something might matter now, but it might not matter in a few years' time. I find people are often, um, yeah, the people in my life are really matter more than any of the circumstances or any of the things. Like, the reason I travel usually is to go and see friends or see specific people. Um,
Are there specific people that you're
you
with now?
introduced, yeah, yeah. This friend River invited me to Bali to we've been doing some work together and doing it like at a distance. And he was like, why don't you come and visit and like we'll just focus on work. And it's really nice getting to spend time. When you spend time with someone like in a like we're living together, working together a lot. When you spend time with people, you really get to know them all the way through, like all of the aspects of them. Like it's very different. I think we were talking about this when we caught up last. It's very different, like seeing someone in a specific setting every time, like say going to a restaurant or spending 48 hours with someone like on some kind of adventure, or like this is why festivals and like these kinds of long hangs are really nice because you really get to see people in all these different aspects of their life, like in all these
Totally.
different kind of moods. um I want to touch back on this. You talked about this guy that you um, were doing the back to back with, and that you introduced him to this person, and it changed the course of his life, and now he has tattoos. Are there people in your life that changed the course of your life?
For
Um,
sure.
and I'd like to caveat this by saying, because this is a question that my dad likes to ask, but I'd like to caveat this by saying it can't be a family member and it can't be a partner.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I think the best example is when I moved to New York. So I had been, I guess, in fall 2016, yeah, I was volunteering at a hostel in Barcelona, just like with this like workaway experience. And there was one girl who I was friends with who lived in New York. So when I moved to New York, I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna meet up with her for a drink. And I knew some people in New York, but like not so many. And I was just very open to meeting people, whatever. And so we met up for a drink, and she was with her friend, who then I really connected with. And I was telling him that I just moved to New York and I had just been traveling the world for about a year. And I just got into electronic music and I was looking for more like international people and electronic shows. And he was just like, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, come with me. I have like everything you're looking for. And so he kind of took me under his wing and then introduced me to friends at a dinner at his, and then we went to, like, a Nicholas Jar concert, and then we, like, went to my first Burning Man party in New York, and I met all of my friends and my entire community because this one person basically was like, "I see you, and I wanna introduce you to my world," and then as soon as I entered this world in New York, I met then another person who then introduced me to another person, who then introduced me to another person, and even still to this day, because of this one person who introduced me to this community, I continue to meet new people endlessly. It's so crazy. Like every single time I come back to New York, meet new friends because this community that started, like you went to camp, I don't know, last year or the year before, this community keeps growing. And like in 2017, when I moved to New York, there was maybe like 30 friends. And now it's been this
Yeah.
organism that has grown to the thousands. And this community is now in Mexico, in Portugal, in Berlin, in New York, all over the world. And there's this network of people that I'm connected to that keeps growing because of this one person. And that is like just just the craziest thing. And like now
That's
being part of
so
this
insane.
global network, it's like it's so cool. So that's the first example I could
Yeah.
think of. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a perfect example. I think New York kind of lends itself to this, but I think that specifically, like the community of people that you're talking about, super open minded, super curious, super like, I found welcoming as long as you're being generous, as long as you're like bringing life and energy and things like this. Like, I also see where like you introduce two people and maybe they don't click, or maybe like I think people select in and select out of certain energies or environments or communities. And the beautiful thing when it does click is just like maybe that it's not forced. I can't really put my finger on it. It's just it's so natural and obvious. And it's the kind of thing that you would be doing anyway, right? Like you're looking for these things. That's why this person took you under their wing. They're like, ah, you want these things? Yes, I know exactly where to find them. And like you bring so much that it's obvious that um I really like this idea of high. I think New York has an abundance of these people, high effort, high agency. Yeah, I'm
High
gonna
effort, high
try my
agency.
best and I'm gonna go out and find the things. I'm gonna do the things. I'm
Mm,
gonna make the decisions.
yeah. New
Are
York
you in New York
definitely.
for are you there for a while now?
Be here for about a month total, so quite a bit. It seems like it's never enough time, but definitely squeezing a lot in this 1 month for sure. Uh, yeah, it's definitely good to be back, but it's kind of weird as well because it's like my whole it's like I forget how much life I lived here and how many people I know, and then when I run into all of these, random people that I forgot were even in my sphere, it's like, "Oh, shit. Okay. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot happening."
Yeah. It's the overwhelm we were talking about earlier.
Totally. I've noticed I feel more overwhelmed in, like, a daily basis than I have in a while. I'm also, like, in a flow and I'm enjoying it here, but I'm noticing that my overwhelm is definitely at a higher percentage than maybe in my normal life.
Yeah. Um, what are you working on at the moment?
Professionally,
If you feel like
personally,
talking about
yeah, sure.
it.
I mean, what am I working on professionally or, like, in general?
What's pulling you?
Okay. Well,
Which way would you like to take
I
this?
I can take this today, where I was right before we hopped on this call, is I am in the middle of planning the Dopamine Reset Retreat, which is very exciting. So we just finished
Nice.
the booking and like landing page for it. So now the information is up online. People can reserve their spots. And yeah, I'm working on this with my very close friend. And she has this beautiful house where she grew up in, where we're going to be hosting the retreat in Bavaria. And so we've just been like heads down working on this retreat, getting it up online, figuring out the itinerary, like the dates, everything. And so this has been taking up a lot of time and energy, but feeling so, so, so excited about it. And it's similar where like we are living together in this house in New York. Um, and so we're working together, we're living together, and we just keep getting closer. And like today was very stressful because we basically we both have like raging ADHD. So we like need these deadlines in order to get things done, but we're stressed by the deadlines, but we know that we need them. Um, so it's been like this very high pressure day because like I wanted to have this ready by last week. So we had had a meeting on Thursday. But then she was like, "Well, I can't get it ready by Friday. So like, how about Monday?" I was like, "Okay, Monday works." But then today I had all these other things, and my sister just had a baby on Friday, like a week or two early. So my family's here, so I'm like navigating that. But it's like, "Oh, okay, but we need to get this up because we're supposed to get it up on Friday." It's like, okay, but it's only 1 day. But it's like, okay, but then if it's in Germany, then the time zone is going to be, you know, it's a half a day ahead. And so it's just like trying to meet these deadlines that we set for ourselves. Like no one is telling us we need to do this except for us. Um, so it was a bit of a stressful day trying to get everything ready, but then we're happy that we did it that way because now it's up and ready to go. So that's one thing
No, it's
that
ready.
now it's
Fantastic.
ready. I mean, it's nothing's ever fully ready, but like it's ready enough. It's like it's good enough for now. And yeah, that's
Yeah,
one thing
I'm
that
I'm impressed that you can do ready enough. Like for me, that's taken a long time to get to like, all right, it's done. It's done.
yeah, it's not easy. I think though, like I learned from the dopamine reset challenge that I needed there were so many moving parts and I mean my graphics were horrible and like I had typos and shit and like I think I just needed to push forward because I knew that like I couldn't afford to overthink every aspect of it. because if I
Mm.
did, then I would have just not done it. And I cared so much about getting this out. And I have learned, kind of as we were talking about before, that most people don't give a fuck. Most people don't notice these things. And even if they do, like, are they not gonna like respect me because I have a typo? They might notice it and they'll be like, okay, well, she's, imperfect and did it anyway. Whatever. That's the point. So I've learned to like just try to move forward anyway. And it's the same with DJing as well. Like I used to never, ever, ever, ever put up a set online when there was a bad transition, whatever, bad transition. And I just like wouldn't post my sets online because I was like, no, it's gonna take too long to edit them. And if anybody hears it, then they're gonna be like, oh my God, she's a horrible DJ. And then eventually I have learned to just like, I mean, I still give too many fucks, but like I've gotten into the practice. Actually, last winter, last New Year's, I recorded this set and it was kind of imperfect, but I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna post it anyway. And I felt like it was like the truest representation of my artistic expression of any set that I'd ever recorded. And even though it was like not technically, as refined as it could be, I was like, I'm gonna just do this as a practice of just like not
Mm.
being perfect. And it is one of my most listened to sets of all of the sets I have online. And it completely radically
Really?
transformed. Yes, and it completely radically transformed like my DJ style at this point. Because now I've learned to just now in nightclubs in Berlin or New York, I just play whatever the fuck I want, and it's so messy sometimes, and the transitions are horrible. And I would have been appalled, like my younger self, if I heard myself DJing now, would be judging her and be like, "That transition was horrible." Like this is a horrible DJ. But like I'm so much wiser and so much more in touch with my inner artist now that I'm like, for those people like my younger self who'd be judging me, like they don't get it. They're not my target audience anyway, so whatever. So it's just like constant practice of just like giving less fucks and fucking doing it anyway. Just put it out there. Go.
Yeah, yeah. It's the man in the arena thing. Like, yeah, come and come and be judgmental once you've done it a few times.
Yeah.
Come and come and release some imperfect sets. Come and like play at clubs, and then come and talk to me.
Yeah. And just do it. Like for all the perfectionists, overthinkers out there, just do it. Just fucking do it. Go, 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 go. Like, and then you get used to, I mean, when we were having this conversation back a few months ago when we met up and we were talking about like not your dating style, but like when you want to like connect with people at a club or a bar or whatever, and you're like, yeah, you just get used to rejection. You say hi to whatever, and you just get used to people rejecting you, and you yeah, it still sucks, but it sucks less and less the more you do it. I think about this conversation all the time. I'm like, I want to just be better at that. It's so cool that you just do that and it just works.
I need I need little challenges, and so I think we should run this as some kind of fun thing, a group chat or it's whatever. I actually made a little app for this, and it's called Rejection Collection, and
I
it's
love it.
based on this thing. I've seen it so many times on Instagram, but I'm not on Instagram at the moment. Um, and it's
Beautiful. Good
like
work.
but rejection collection is, can I collect 1,000 rejections um this year? And so that's
I love
like
this
going
so
and
much.
yeah, and then I want to have a little leaderboard, so it's like this person got rejected 10 times today. And rejection is such a simple thing because it can be like, yeah, can you ask to have a discount when you're getting your coffee? Can you ask for someone's number if you like them? Or can you even just go and say hello? Like have a very short conversation without there needing to be any kind of goal to it. And like maybe a rejection in that case is somebody's like not interested in talking to you. Oh, sorry, I'm busy. Whatever. At least you did the thing. At least you
Yeah.
put your DJ set online. Um, so if you want to make some kind of, let's talk about it slowly. And I'm not going to ask for a commitment here because ADHD brains are often like, oh yeah, let's do this.
I know the amount of things I say yes to, but then don't do because I'm like, wait, I do not have the capacity for that right now. But I
Yeah,
love this in
exactly.
theory. I do love this. And I have really been thinking about this conversation that we had for a while because I think,
Mm.
yeah. And also, how do we take ourselves less seriously, right? Like, we put so much weight
Yeah,
onto these things where, like, it's such a good practice and letting go and taking ourselves less seriously and just being okay with something without being so hyper focused on the outcome. If you see things as a game, right? If you see things as just as an experiment. Like I love and I try to have this mentality with a lot of things and it's so easy to forget that everything can just be seen as an experiment and not as this like life or death serious situation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's very, very rarely life or death. Like we could have so much more fun just by downscaling things, going like, hey, this isn't going to be the end of the world. Let's try it. Um, I do think there's some permutation. I think I'm using that right. Of this like rejection club, just trying stuff.
I'm here for it.
Um,
I love it. And hold me
maybe it's a group
accountable.
chat.
Hopefully one of us
Yeah.
remembers to hold me accountable because I love it.
I, I'll remember. Maybe it's a group chat, and the idea is just like every time you do it, so you go and go about your days and you collect rejections, and every time there's a funny one, the group chat is there for like posting in it. I also think that this is
So good.
some of the most fun bit of it is like, oh yeah, I I don't know. I went and asked for a I don't know 20K contract with a company that I was scared to ask for, and they said yes. It's like, oh, okay. This is not a real thing. It's just made
Sometimes
up.
these things happen though. And like as a freelancer
Yeah,
too, I'm learning to just kind of like I used to be so afraid to ask for more money or so afraid to ask for a change to a schedule or a contract or whatever. And now I'm like getting better at just asking for it and being like, well, if they don't wanna do it, I can decide if I wanna do it or not, you know? And
yeah,
then so often I ask for more money and they say yes. And I'm like, in the past I just wouldn't have asked. So I would have just
yeah,
been too scared, you know? Like, but yeah, so many ways in which we could just such a good reminder to just see life as an experiment and as a game and just por qué no? Just give it a shot. Nothing to lose.
porque no? Um, can I ask for a question from you to ask my next guest?
Yeah. I think one of my favorite questions, maybe this has been asked already before. It's not like so original, but I think I would love for this person, anyone listening, to really reflect on if money didn't matter, what would you do with your life?
And now I want to ask you this exact question.
Yeah, fair. Something I do try to think about, which I try to have guide my decisions because I don't want to be like a slave to this capitalist machine, you know. I want to be in integrity with my values and my passions and my interests. I think the only thing I would do differently is not be plagued by scarcity, which sometimes is what guides some actions, you know, like if I like feel like I'm, you know, feeling scarce with money, then I'll maybe do things that I don't wanna do, because I feel like I need money immediately. So I think that that's the biggest thing. Or, like, I would maybe buy more of this, like, whatever, nice natural skincare shit that I want. 'Cause I'm like, "Well, fuck it. Doesn't matter. I trust that." But overall, I think in general, I'm doing what I wanna do in life, which I always say if I died tomorrow, I
You're
wouldn't
living,
have any regrets, so
you are living a pretty rad, exploratory, unconventional life. So,
thank you. I'd say the same for you, my friend.
yeah, we're trying.
We are
Um,
trying.
that's all we can do.
Definitely.
Yeah. The and it's fun. It's fun seeing it in this way because it really is an experiment.
Totally.
Like just seeing it as an experiment versus it actually being an experiment. It is an experiment anyway, whether we choose to see it that way or not. Like we're constantly
Totally.
trying things and learning and changing, and but the fact that we can consciously see it that way has nothing to do with the actual thing. The actual thing just is this one.
'Cause we think that we can control all outcomes, and we can't, you know? It's just it's a fallacy. But it's I love that we're talking about this though, because it's like, this is, like, one of my, guiding principles in life to see everything as an experiment and, like, just go for it, and then I found myself today, like, forgetting this and taking everything so seriously, and I don't know how many times I need to remind myself, like, every single day, what it's all about. Have fun, trust the process, like, live in integrity with your values and your passions and go for it and see it as an experiment, have fun with it. So thank you for reminding
So
me.
yeah, sometimes all we need is the reminder, and it's like the weirdest thing that you can get a reminder from. It's, could be all sorts of little nuanced or like yeah, I see it all the time in conversations in nature. You do need to have exposure to the outside world, though. I will say that is something that I've noticed over and over is like, yeah, the world is big and chaotic and messy. And also, it has all of these nice reminders if you choose to look for them.
Which we can't be in a rush all the time because then we're not gonna see it. And this is also a lesson for myself because I find especially when I'm, like I don't wanna say even when I'm just in New York, when I was living this, like, beach life in the Oaxacan coast, I could find myself, like, rushing on the beach to get to the, beach bar. I'm like, "Why am I rushing?" 'Cause I said I was gonna meet my friend at 8 and it's now 8:03, like, it's fine. Like, this is not the energy that anybody needs right now. That's like, "We gotta get there immediately." Like, it's gonna be fine.
Mhm. Mm.
Yeah,
I think this is a perfect place to wrap it up. I'm gonna go and get into my day and do some work, and it's kind of late for you, right?
and it's late, but I had a green tea too late, so now I'm really
Mm.
energized. Good time to do all the things I
Nice.
didn't get to do earlier. Perfect.
Yeah, no, one thing. Choose one thing.
Choose one thing to do?
Choose one thing. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, like, don't do all of the things you meant to do earlier. Just
No,
do
of
one
course
thing.
not. No, I'm gonna try to wind down actually and read and circle back to the initial
Um,
part of this conversation.
Perfect. Will you send me the link to your DJ set?
Which one?
The one that you're talking about, the one that is messy and your greatest expression of artistic.
Indeed, I will.
And also, I'm sure I can find it, but if you'd like to send through the dopamine challenge, I will put a link to it. The
Sweet.
retreat, because I
Definitely.
really enjoyed the dopamine challenge.
Yeah. It's a good time. I'm gonna do another one also. I think I want to do it
Yeah,
annually. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I think it's super necessary. Um, yeah,
Mm.
the, yeah, yeah, maybe more than annually. I've been thinking about trying to get just like have a day every week that is completely offline.
I support this. Definitely. Yes. Cool.
All
I'll
right, my
send you
friend.
those links. Good luck with your work day. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Oh, one logistical thing. Riverside, this tool that we use is uploading into your browser. So if you just leave this browser tab open, it'll,
Alright.
yeah, it will continue to upload and it'll tell you when it's at 100.
Okay. Sounds good. Cute. Okay. Have a good day.
Ciao, ciao.
Talk
Bye.
soon.